Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. This is the AWHONN Fellows thinking about becoming a fellow and come have your questions answered webinar. We're going to be talking a little bit tonight and sharing some tidbits with you, some helpful hints. And we're glad you could make it. This webinar is being recorded, so be aware of that. Okay, as always, we're going to be following the AWHONN Virtual Code of Conduct, and we're committed to providing a safe, productive, and welcoming environment for all meeting participants and AWHONN staff. All participants, including but not limited to attendees, speakers, volunteers, exhibitors, AWHONN staff members, service providers, and others, are expected to abide by the virtual program's code of conduct. This policy applies to all AWHONN meeting related events. And AWHONN has a zero tolerance for any form of discrimination or harassment, including but not limited to sexual harassment by participants or our staff at meetings. If you experience any harassment or hear of any instance of unacceptable behavior, AWHONN asks you to inform Billy Robinson or the AWHONN Board of Directors President at leadership@awhonn.org. So tonight, I am being joined by two of my fellow fellows. So my name is Nancy Travis. I'm the Fellows Chair. And what we're going to do is I'm going to be asking them as I introduce them why they decided to become a fellow. So my first person I'm going to introduce is Dr. Candace McLean. And so
Hi, good night,
Candace,
everyone.
why did you become a fellow?
So definitely, it's an honor to be a fellow. It's a special designation that represents my specialty to maternal care and my dedication and commitment. So it's important to me to be a fellow and to continue in that aptitude to reflect it in my work daily. I'm going to pass it on to Sherry.
Hello, I'm glad to be with you today. And I would say part of the reason that I became a fellow is I was very proud of the work that I did. I had just left a hospital that I worked at for 26 years. And I really wanted to celebrate all that I've done and kind of all the things that I wanted to do going forward, not finished with my career yet. And I also wanted to do it to kind of set the tone for my kids, my grandkids, that you're never enough until you keep going. And becoming a fellow really celebrates what you've done, but also you're not done just because you're a fellow. You keep going in your profession to do good for the world.
Awesome. Great answers, Candace and Sherry. I became a fellow. I was very, very excited about this the first year that it came out. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've done so much work with AWHONN, going from a chapter coordinator to state section coordinator to being on various committees, to help writing policy statements, to working with my perinatal quality collaborative and sharing the information with other states, that I thought, wow, this is something that's just for people in our specialty. And it made a big deal to me and was a big deal to my employer when I became a fellow. So I look forward, like Sherry, towards the end of my career, but I'm not done yet. So I wanted to keep going on, keep giving, and keep mentoring. And I will probably continue my fellowship onward as long as I can possibly do so. So next slide. So what is a fellow? So fellows are nurse leaders who have made substantive and sustained contributions to the health of women and newborns beyond the expectations of their role. So they're going above and beyond, not just focused on what is required of them at work, but going on and giving the extra mile. So fellows have demonstrated outstanding contributions to clinical practice, research, education, advocacy, or policy at the regional, national, or global level that is reflective of AWHONN's mission and vision statements. They've demonstrated a commitment to the profession and to the highest standards of nursing care in the specialty of women's health, obstetric, and neonatal nursing. So tonight we're going to be talking about the requirements to become a fellow, the application process, the importance of finding the right sponsors, and what happens after you apply, and what do we do with the application, or well, how do we evaluate that, and the next steps, and then we're going to have a question and answer period. So the requirements for the FAWHONN designation. You have to be an AWHONN member for 5 years. This can be non-consecutive, and you have to be a current voting member at the time of application, which means a full member. You have to be a nurse, so you have to have a nursing diploma or a degree in nursing. So it can be a diploma, associate degree, BSN, MSN, PhD, or DNP. You have to possess an advanced degree beyond a bachelor's or a certification in your specialty area or leadership. And the last one is be actively engaged in AWHONN beyond membership. For example, serving on committees, task force, leadership roles, or writing teams.
So now I'm going to discuss the application process. So you want to read and review the instructions. So this is not NCLEX. We don't want critical thinking, but part of your success is reading and answering the question that is asked, not the question you wish you asked, but making sure that you address what was truly asked in the application. Follow the instructions. If we request that you have 300 words, do not go over. Unfortunately, additional words don't count and it may invalidate your application. So use and adhere to the words criteria, whether it's 300 or 500. Write it in Word and copy and paste it in the application. You can save the application and re-enter it later. Your progress is saved, so you don't have to sit in one sitting and think you have to complete it. This gives you time to revise, think it over, and maybe add additional things you had meant to mention before. Allocate time for the revision so you can dedicate time to do this. The components of the application are in 2 parts. There's your component, which you need to answer some personal questions about your career and what you have done to contribute to maternal and neonatal health. And then there's your sponsors part. One of the most important components is do not use AI. Submissions are not allowed to be submitted and will invalidate your application. So we're talking now about the importance of finding the right sponsor. This person is going to highlight all your credentials, all what you have contributed to the maternal health and neonatal world. Be thoughtful of who you choose. Select someone who knows you, someone who has worked with you, maybe if they've done projects with you, someone who understands what you're applying for. One sponsor must be a current member of AWHONN. This can be anyone you like. They do not need to be an AWHONN member, your second member. Some fellowships have a requirement that a current fellow must be a sponsor. We do not have this requirement at the time, so it can be just a regular AWHONN member. It does not have to be a designated fellow. A member of the evaluation subcommittee that has been formed cannot be a sponsor. Whom should I consider to be a sponsor? A cohesive application is key. The letters should build on your application and each other. They should know your areas of impact and can add to what you say. They have the time to help you write, rewrite, and review the application. They can meet with you, dedicate time in person as a group to work on your portion of the application, and make sure they highlight all that you're doing and their letters of support. Suggest submitting your sponsor's information right away. Because you don't know if it's been submitted, this gives them more time to complete it, and it goes directly to their email. Both sponsors' applications and feedback must be received to complete your application. And make sure that they adhere to the deadlines. So I'll turn it over to Sherry.
Okay, so the statements of sponsorship really should build on your application and each other, and reflect your contribution to the maternal and neonatal field, such as academia, research, or clinical contributions. All of those are acceptable. And if you think about that you want the statement of sponsorship to reflect on your contributions, one of the things that I would heavily suggest is that you want to make sure that your sponsor sees your letter, the questions, how you answered them, that you have a discussion with your sponsor about what you've done. You might share your CV with your sponsor so they really have the full idea of what you are, even though they personally know you and have had the opportunity to know where you're at. They may not know every detail. And then avoid duplication of information. So things that are in your questions don't necessarily need to be in theirs, but expanded upon. Highlight different aspects of your career. So most careers are not one and done. Many aspects of your career, and you want to make sure that each aspect is highlighted at least by one sponsor and in your own application. Use all the words of the word limit to address the sponsor questions. So you have a word limit, but you don't want to go 100 words, less than that, nor do you want to go above the word limit. So all of those are things to be taken into consideration. Okay. Go to the next slide. So let's talk for a moment about post-application. You want to catch your breath and you want to go on with your life. So it's a little daunting as you're trying to do the application and make sure it's in on time, make sure it's at the word limit, not beyond and not below, that your sponsors have, gotten the information they need and have gotten it in. But don't, freak out about it when you're done with the application. Relax and await. Applications are redacted for most of the review process. At least 8 fellows review assigned applications over 2 rounds. And so when I say that, when the fellows review them, at least on the first round, and for most of the review process, if your name is in there, your name will be out. So that whoever's reviewing it, unless they know every detail about your life, will not know who you are. And all members of the fellow selection committee are assigned to review selected applications. And the committee meets to discuss final evaluation and arrives at consensus. And I can tell you from experience that we want people who are eligible, who's sent in an application that's strong. We want them to be fellows. We're not looking to say, not this, not that. We're looking for to celebrate the strength in the applications. Next, please. And then next steps. The applications for the next fellowship round open on Monday, July 21st. So just a few days from now. And applications, including sponsorship submissions, close on Wednesday, August 20th. So you have a good month. That's a long time. You won't feel like it's a long time, but it's a good amount of time. And between September and November, the applications will undergo review. Applications that are selected will be reviewed for approval by the board of directors in late 2025 or early 2026. So in other words, probably between December and January. Notifications will take place in late 2025 or early 2026. as soon as they're all chosen and approved by the board of directors and ready for announcement to the applicant. Okay. And the induction ceremony, the 2026 inductees will be inducted at the 2026 AWHONN convention in Orlando, Florida. All fellows are encouraged to attend, but it's not required. And family members are permitted to attend the induction ceremony. And I want to take just a moment to tell you, we've now had 3 induction ceremonies. So this is still a fairly new phenomenon. And Nancy and I were both, Candace, were you in the second one? That's what I thought. And Nancy and I were in the first one, and it was fairly low key, but still extremely meaningful. The second one was a little bit less low key, but still a bit low key. And the one from this year was less low key and pretty exciting. And it really feels good when you find out that you got accepted and then you stand on stage and actually get called out for that acceptance. So the induction ceremony is a really meaningful part of this. Next. And we'll go to the Q&A. If you have any questions, you can email after the Q&A, you can email fellows@awhonn.org, or you can visit the AWHONN Fellows webpage. But we're here now to answer whatever questions that you have. Any, before we start that, any further comments from Nancy or from Candace?
Well, I will say that from when we first became fellows 3 years ago, we have developed more as a team. So there is an actual fellows committee that all the fellows sit on. And we have made improvements and decided what we want to do with being a fellow, so that we have now opened up some opportunities for mentoring. We had some fellows serve as mentors at convention for some of the students that had won the Every Woman, Every Baby scholarships to convention. We had an actual fellows lounge this year. Behind me is pictures of all the fellows. I always kind of tease them and say whenever there's 2 or more fellows together at one place, they need to take a picture. So these are some pictures that the fellows, I know you can't see them all, but there's lots of pictures, and it was fun to share those and to see those in the room. It has improved. We're going to also have the fellows that want to serve or be on some committees. They can be the fellow member of certain committees within AWHONN. And then we do have a directory of the fellows that kind of tells what our specialties are. So I know that Candace is an OPS instructor. She's very active globally and has taken OPS on the road to some other countries, which was very cool to me, is to follow her along on LinkedIn. But we all have different strengths and different things that we bring to the program. So being able to follow this group of incredible people is pretty fun. So to see what our strengths are, and we're all kind of picking on each other and picking, oh, this is a good person. This person has a strength here. And we now have a couple of fellows members that are actually on the board of directors for AWHONN. So any questions for us? And I think you can take yourself off mute to ask questions, or you can put them in the Q&A.
So we have quite a few questions, and I am responding in the chat and will ask them as well. So the first one was, can you please repeat who cannot be a sponsor?
So I can answer that for 1 second, and that is, I can't be a sponsor because I am on the fellows committee.
The selection committee.
The selection committee. So I can't be sponsoring when somebody's going to be submitting. So I can't sponsor for that.
Great. The
And
next question
Can I continue on with that
course.
for a second? Other thoughts about who can be a sponsor. It really needs to be somebody who knows you professionally, who understands what you do and how you do it and how you have succeeded within your profession. So that's my, best advice as far as that goes. So to have a sponsor who, the governor of your state, that would be impressive, but do they really know what you do professionally?
Great. The next question is, does AWHONN share the rubric used in assessment?
I'll answer that. So the rubric used to assess the actual application process is on a numerical scale. We don't share what you actually got. And Nancy can jump in at any time about the feedback. So you don't actually have the numerical scale, but everybody is weighted on that same scale. And whoever comes above the number that meets the criteria that was selected for the evaluation process is how the fellows are selected. There's no cutoff criteria. So if 20 people applied and the designation number is 20 and the numerical scale all came up 20, they would be accepted. But we do score it numerically, and each category of component of your evaluation. So say there's 3 components and each is 5 each. That's how we're weighting it. And then we review it twice through the evaluation process. But is that actual scale shared with you? No.
And then feedback is given. So if you do not make the cutoff for becoming a fellow, then you are offered a chance to find out where your application may have needed some further polishing, or were you on the right track? Did you need to just add some more things, or were you missing some substantial component?
All right. The next question is, if the applications don't meet all of these rules, which I believe means eligibility requirements, are they immediately disqualified, and does the candidate know this? Know why they aren't selected, or a more general response? I will jump in and answer part of this. Applications must meet the eligibility rules, which are the 5 years, and the various degree requirements, which are on the AWHONN website, on the fellows page. But Nancy, I know you just mentioned, but if you could expand a bit on the feedback, that would be great.
Yeah. So also I'm going to give feedback on the degree part of it, because everyone that is an AWHONN Fellow does not have to have a doctorate degree or a master's degree even. So you can have your associate degree, and you can have a certification. You can have a diploma if you graduated from a diploma school of nursing like I did. My original degree was a diploma. I'm a diploma grad, and I went on and got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. But I also, along the way, got some certifications. So inpatient obstetrics, newborn nursing, whatever your certification, IBCLC, breastfeeding certification, anything that's related to your specialty is included. So we want to make sure you have that. Now, if your sponsor does not complete their application, or not the application, but their sponsorship portion, and doesn't hit the submit button, and you only have one sponsor, that application is not reviewed. So that person would get feedback. And unfortunately, things happen. So we do give feedback on that and say your second sponsor did not submit. Or if a whole section of your application is not done, like I think there's like 4 questions that the person applying for fellowship has to complete. And if they miss a whole section, then that's going to be, we're not going to review it. And that person would be given feedback. So they would be told, that didn't work. You didn't submit that before, you can go in and out of the application like Candace said. You can finish it. You can finish one portion, come back to it the following day, and get it done. But if you leave a whole portion not done, we can't review it. The same thing with your AWHONN membership. Remember, you have to have 5 years of AWHONN membership, but at time of application for your fellowship, you have to be a full member. Okay, so make sure if it's 4 years and 6 months, you're not going to be able to submit this year. You can submit next year. And we will tell you.
Can I add something to that, Nancy?
Yes, go ahead.
And it's 5 years total.
Right,
So it doesn't have to be 5 years consecutive.
right. That's right.
That's right.
5 years total.
That actually is something that was me, because I had been, and then it lapsed for a little bit, and then I came back. And so it was
Right.
like, but I, took that into consideration.
Yeah, yep. But that's, those are kind of the heartbreaking ones, that either the submission button wasn't pushed, or someone left a whole section out, or their AWHONN membership was just not long enough. And like we said, doesn't have to be consecutive, but that last year has to be full membership.
So their next question is, can a member of the board be a sponsor? And the answer is yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Only the members of the evaluation subcommittee for the fellows cannot be sponsors at this time.
Okay, thank you.
The next one is there a limit on how many fellows are selected each year?
No.
There isn't a limit, no.
I mean, the exciting thing is we want to celebrate those who are, who meet the criteria of fellows. And if we had it limited, then we, as many members of AWHONN that we have, we would really be limiting the ability to celebrate.
All right. The next one is, does your fellowship expire? Are you always an AWHONN fellow?
Well, once you become an AWHONN fellow, you pay a fee that is paid yearly, and then you maintain your fellowship with that. So you can always be an AWHONN fellow if you keep your membership up and you pay the fee to be a fellow.
I just paid mine this past week.
Is there a limit to how many fellows a sponsor can support?
No. So if what you have a great sponsor that wants to sponsor 2 or 3 people, that's fine. As long as that person has enough time to sit down and do the sponsorship portion for each person, there's no limit.
And if that sponsor has time in 1 month to write a great sponsorship letter for 3 or more people, then we want them as a fellow.
True.
And as a volunteer for AWHONN.
All right. How long is the process of becoming a fellow? And I can jump in. So the application opens July 21st, so this coming Monday, and closes Wednesday, August 30th. That is the application process. Notifications of the application status will be made in late 2025 or early 2026. So technically the process is about a month, but there's a bit of waiting, and induction takes place in June of 2026. Let's see, we have answered a few of these with other questions. One is, do you get confirmation that a submission was successful? This is a software one, so I can answer it as well. applicants will receive confirmation that their submission was successful. Sponsors also receive confirmation that their submissions were successful. If someone is submitted their application and they're waiting on their sponsors towards the last 2 weeks, week, 3 days, 24 hours, you as the applicant will receive reminders of saying that there is an outstanding sponsor information due, and the sponsor will get reminders as well. So there are a lot of reminders that go out. And they will receive notifications that it is successful. Additionally, you can also reach out to fellows@awhon.org at any time if you've got questions related to submission statuses. So that's some of them.
Sarah, I'm
Next
just
one.
going to add on there.
Yes.
Because when they submit the application, I don't want them to be confused. When you submit it, make sure that all areas are complete, because it will accept your application and tell you that it's complete, okay? But you may be missing words or something, so make sure every space has a filled in component. And just because you received that confirmation immediately that submission is complete doesn't mean, as Sarah was elaborating, that your sponsor's submission was completed. So your sponsor will get confirmation that they have submitted. So there is a little disconnect there, right? But like Sarah said, you'll get a reminder email. But just because you get those two completes doesn't mean that the whole application is completed. One of your key components is making sure that your sponsors were complete, because I don't want you to think that when you submit it initially, everything is done, it's all wrapped up. You are still waiting on that sponsor completion, and that does not come to you in any email, unfortunately. You just get a reminder email.
And I'm going to further elaborate on doing the part in Word. Take the question, answer it in Word. You can do your word count there, and then copy and paste it. You can do your spell check. You can do everything you need to do, and then put it into the application. And that really does work well, so that we know that it's going to be complete and going to be good. And then that you've used all your words. So if it says 300, use 300. If it says 500, use 500. And really, this is the time to shine. Brag on yourself. It's hard for us as nurses to say all the great things that we've done, but this is the time to say all those things that you've done with AWHONN, what you've done out in the community, the impact you've had with your work, because we want to know how many people you've touched with your work, and no matter what it is. So it doesn't have to be like, we're not all OB nurses, we're not all labor and delivery nurses, we're not all faculty at colleges, but many are. And many, we have some clinical folks too. So, it doesn't have to be just the highest degree portion of it. So please, please, please. And that was something that came out when we had our fellows, Ask a Fellow meeting at convention. People were very confused that they hadn't done enough. But we want to know those great things you've done. So tell us your story.
And I'll say a very silly thing. It's something that I actually read about yesterday. And that is, if you worked, and I'm just using this as an example, if you worked as a postpartum nurse for 5 years and you had an assignment of 4 patients each shift that you worked, if you add up how many shifts you worked in those years times 4 patients each shift, you could actually come up for your application with how many lives you touched. Just a thought. Things that you might not have thought about that you've done in your career.
All right, we have another great question. What are exemplars to include in the application? So maybe a bit of what you're looking for, kind of expanding on what you just said, Sherry.
So I'll expand and then I'll turn it over, because I'm sure Candace and Nancy have some thoughts on this. So were you successful in bringing baby friendly into your hospital? What was your role in that? Did you write any policies or procedures or participate in that? Did you participate or on your own do a research study? And was it published? And did you, for example, sit on a committee on your hospital? And what was what was that all about? And what did it involve? And how did it turn out? So those are a few thoughts. I mean, I could, were you on a magnet committee for your hospital? Were you on, did you participate with any other organizations as a liaison for your hospital? Just a few thoughts. Nancy or Candace, do you have some thoughts?
Yeah, that was definitely a good intro, Sherry, of what we're looking for, right? And then also too, we often think about so much inpatient, but I know a lot of you guys are doing grunt work out there, whether you're public health or ambulatory. So there may be topics. If you're doing community health, and you're out there, or maybe you're a home care maternal child nurse. What are you doing out there? Are you doing progesterone? Are you decreasing preterm labor? I know some people are still actively doing it. Your scope, it doesn't matter. It's the work that you contribute that we want to hear about, right? What you're doing to improve quality, improve safety, and the standards. For people in academia, sometimes you're like, well, I'm not really doing anything research, but are you doing something to improve nursing outcomes, to improve their success in the maternal child so that they could be successful? We want to hear about that so we can also transfer it over to maybe our students that we have. So what are you doing out there in the field? Are you embedding simulation and AI and using that to train your nurses? There's so many different avenues that we haven't touched upon yet. I know there's some people doing work in indigenous populations. We don't hear a lot from our neonatal and NICU nurses. When we were reviewing applications last year, I wanted to bring that forward. I wanted to hear about what's going on in NICU. I'm not a NICU nurse, so only thing I know is Kangaroo Karen to run them over to you guys. So we're looking for those. What are the new things coming out in NICU? We know about QBL and Triton, and like Sherry was mentioning, postpartum. But we would really like to hear about new innovations in preterm preemies, right? Are you using new lights? Are they improving outcomes? Skin to skin, bonding, nutrition enhancement. So you really just want to highlight the great work you're doing, but especially new innovations, things that are really making dynamic change within the maternal neonatal world.
And another thing that I'm very passionate about is advocacy. And have you gone to AWHONN on the Hill? Have you connected with your legislators to promote new laws and regulations regarding maternal morbidity and mortality? Are you working with your perinatal quality collaborative? Are you out there in your community? Have you hosted a diaper drive? Have you done Candace, do you want to tell them how many diapers you collected to send to Jamaica?
So
That was like
Nancy, I'm nowhere
incredible.
near what you do, but we did, and I'm so grateful for Nancy's support, and I still owe you something. I should mention it. But that kind of stuff, taking your work excessive, being that I'm from the Caribbean, I wanted to do something for the Caribbean for maternal mortality. But it doesn't have to be international. It could be right here. Your diaper drives. Did you help a privatized community? Right now, if somebody did a diaper drive in the height of the Bronx in New York, I would love to hear about it. We were hearing that people are using cloth diapers, right? That's a privatized community. What are you doing in the rural aspects? So yeah.
Yeah, what are we doing with the disasters that happen? So, are we out there? Are we helping? Just different things like that. So it can be out in your community. What are you doing as a nurse in your community? Those kind of things are just great. And then also, we don't want you to forget if you've been working and have been active in your chapter or your section level, have you presented at conferences? We want to hear all those stories. So um, the reading them makes you feel incredibly proud of us as AWHONN nurses. So that's what I will tell you, that reading over these stories was incredible, and hearing about what people do out there. It's really, really, really incredible. That's all I can say about it.
So to build upon that question, is the Fellows Program about my job and what I do every day, or above and beyond my day job?
So we want to see what you've done at your local level, at your day job, and how you've expanded and shared that beyond the walls of your hospital. So that could be with your chapter, with, beyond that, you've shared a poster, you've taken what you've done and you've succeeded at and shared that with other people and how you've made it better, as well as your work in the community. So you're dealing with if you're working in a hospital, there's a whole community around your hospital. Each and every hospital, no matter where it is part of a community.
All right. Is the sponsor name anonymous? Which I feel like maybe talking a little bit about the evaluation process would be great here.
The sponsor's name was anonymous to start out with, because remember, everything is redacted. So we won't know what state they're in. We won't know the city. We won't know your name. We won't know your sponsor's name. But as the evaluation process goes on, at the second round, we get the names and where those people are from.
And I would say, quite honestly, that as we evaluated, we weren't so, in the weeds with who your sponsor was, as far as, oh, this person, what are they, we didn't look them up necessarily to see, because we knew enough about what they were saying about you and what your connection was, and that's what really counts. It didn't have to be the president of a health system. That's not what we're looking for. It's somebody who knows you and can speak to what you've accomplished.
And just to clarify, the applicant's name is revealed in the second round along with the sponsors. And this is done in an effort to reduce bias. And we do ask our subcommittee members if they know the person who is applying to recuse themselves, as we do not want anyone being unfair in any way, shape, or form in their evaluations.
And we've had to. So, because we've figured out who people are even with the beginning, because some of them you might know project, or you may have contacted that person about their project, and we've had to redact pull ourselves back and say, I can't review this one.
I just wanted to say I thought it was my first time being on the committee this year, and it was a very fair process. The first round, you do not know the candidate. And if you even thought you did, maybe because of their job, like Nancy alluded to, or maybe because we all work, right, in AWHONN and do things together, but you just verbalize, hey, and you get assigned another application. But it was a very fair process because you don't know this person's location. All of that is redacted within the application. So you're literally getting a blank slate of this person and their qualities. And it's based off your qualities and characteristics of what you presented and the active work that you're doing.
All right. Well, those are all the questions that weren't duplicates. So thank you very much. Does anyone have any last minute questions? All right. Please feel free to visit the Fellows webpage on the website. So you can just go in and get involved, and the Fellows are right there. This has all the eligibility criteria. The application, the link to the application will be on the webpage website as well. It will also be posted in the AWHONN online member community, and there will be emails going out about it as well. So hopefully you will be able to find it without a problem. If you do have any questions, need to check length of membership, need to make sure that you are a current full member, a voting member, anything like that, please feel free to email fellows@awhons.org, and I will hand it back over to you three for official sign-offs.
I have one last thought, and that is for anybody who does not get selected. Kind of looking at it from a negative to put it to a positive. If you don't get selected, look at the comments and don't hesitate, if it's appropriate, depending on the comments, to reapply the following year. So that's my advice.
I agree with that. I appreciate you all being here tonight and participating with us. I know this is going to be recorded so that if any of the recording people don't get a question or they did something we didn't answer, please feel free again to use that fellow's email and one of us will get back with you with an answer. Good luck to you. We know you can do it. Our goal is to have at least one fellow in every state. So please, we're going to maybe making a map and showing you where all the fellows are. But we would like to have at least one in every single state. We're moving on up. We're almost, how many do we have now, Sarah?
We are somewhere north of 50 current fellows, but not one in every state.
Not one in every state yet. So we're
that
getting
being
there.
said, that is not a criteria, and no
Nope,
one knows.
it's not a criteria, but we would like that so that every state and every section will be able to kind of brag on their fellows because it's very fun.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to speak about AWHONN's Fellow. It's such an honor to be a fellow. I encourage everyone to apply, give yourself the chance and opportunity. People question themselves out and psych yourself out. Don't do that. Put the application forward so at least you can obtain the feedback if you didn't meet the criteria this year, but you can't know unless you apply. So we look forward to reading everyone's application, and we see there was 14 people on, minus our 4. So that's 10 already that we look forward to possibly having.
Thank you very much. And we look forward to having you in our club.
We'll see you soon.